Hello there, young scientists. Welcome to step 1 of our chemical investigation. Exercise 1. Time tracking of a chemical reaction. Experimental setup. At T equals 0, we mix a solution of hydrogen peroxide, H2O2, acidified with a few drops of sulfuric acid, with a potassium iodide solution, K plus I minus. The reaction between the couples H2O2H2O and I2I- is total. Exercise data. Initial amount of I dot, N0. Initial amount of H2O2, 6 millimole. Total mixture volume, Vs equals 100 centimeter cubed. Questions. Part 1. Write the half equations and deduce the global reaction equation. 2. Establish the reaction's ICE table, initial, change, equilibrium. 3. Express the concentration of resulting diiodine, I2, as a function of the progress x and volume Vs. Exercise statement. Continued. Questions, Part 2. 4. A. Graphically determine I2 max, then deduce x max. B. Knowing I minus is the limiting reactant, determine N0. 5. 5.1. Define the half reaction time T1 half. 5.2. Show that I2 T1 half equals I2 max divided by 2 and graphically determine T1 half. 5.3. A. Define volumetric rate of reaction. B. Show V equals dI2 dt. C. Find V at T equals 0, T equals 300 S, and T equals 1200 S. 5.4. Graphically find the time for X equals 2.1 millimoles and give the mixture composition. 5.5. What kinetic factor causes the rate to vary? Key quantities to master: I2, X max, T1 half, volumetric rate, V. Before we continue, dear friends, don't forget to subscribe, like, share the video with your friends, and also leave comments to encourage us to continue making this kind of content. Before we dive into calculations, we must understand who the stars of our reaction are. In chemistry, we call them the chemical actors. Based on our text, we are mixing hydrogen peroxide, H2O2, and iodide ions, I-. But wait, these actors don't work alone. They belong to specific redox couples. Think of these couples as a partnership between an oxidant, who wants electrons, and a reductant, who gives them away. H2O2 is our oxidant from the H2O2/H2O couple, and I- is our reductant from the I2/I- couple. We also have some background staff. Potassium, K+, is just watching, a spectator ion, and sulfuric acid provides the H+ ions needed for the reaction to happen. By identifying these partners, we know exactly who is reacting with whom to create our new products. Great job so far! Now, let's write the script for our reaction using electronic half equations. We balance them step by step to make sure nothing is lost. For the reduction of our oxidant, H2O2, we follow a precise ritual. First, we write the couple. Second, we balance oxygen by adding water, H2O. Third, we balance hydrogen by adding H+ ions. And finally, we balance the electrical charge by adding electrons, E-. This gives us H2O2 plus 2H plus 2E- equals 2H2O. For the oxidation of our reductant, I-, it is even simpler. We double the I- to balance the atoms and add 2E- to balance the charge, resulting in 2I- equals I2 plus 2E-. Notice how perfectly they fit? H2O2 wants exactly 2 electrons, and 2I- gives away exactly 2 electrons. It's a perfect match, like 2 puzzle pieces clicking together. Now for the grand finale of question 1, deducing the global equation. Think of this as adding two mathematical equations together. Our goal is to see the complete transformation while making the electrons disappear, because in a real reaction, electrons aren't just floating around. They move directly from one reactant to the other. By summing our two half equations, the 2e- on the left and the 2e- on the right cancel out perfectly. We end up with H2O2 plus 2I- plus 2H plus yields I2 plus 2H2O. A quick pro tip from your teacher. The H plus ions come from the acid we added, and since they are in excess, we don't worry about them running out. Similarly, since the reaction happens in water, the solvent, water is also in excess. This equation is our foundation for everything that follows. Let's get organized with question 2 by constructing the progress table, also known as the ICE table. This is the ultimate map of our chemical journey. I is for initial, at the start, T equals 0. C is for change, during the reaction. And E is for the end, or equilibrium state. We fill it with quantities of matter in millimoles. We start with 6 millimoles of H2O2 and N0 of I-. As the reaction progresses by an amount X, notice the clever use of stoichiometry. H2O2 loses X, but I- loses 2X because its coefficient is 2. It's like a recipe where you need 2 eggs for every cup of flour. Meanwhile, I2 is being born, starting at 0 and growing to X. This table allows us to calculate the exact composition of our mixture at any moment, just by knowing X. Isn't that powerful? Before we continue, dear friends, don't forget to subscribe, like, share the video with your friends, and also leave comments to encourage us to continue making this kind of content. In question 3, we bridge the gap between the invisible world of molecules and our visible measurements. We need to link the reaction progress X to the concentration of diiodine, I2, that we measure in the lab. From our ICE table, we see that the amount of matter of I2 produced is exactly equal to X, N equals X. Now, remember the fundamental definition. Concentration is the quantity of matter divided by the total volume, C equals N over V. So I2 equals X over Vs. This is a breakthrough. It means that when we measure the concentration of the yellow-brown diiodine in our beaker, we are actually looking at a direct mirror of the reaction's progress. By tracking concentration over time, we are literally watching the reaction walk from start to finish. Time for some graphical detective work for question 4a. Look at the experimental curve. Notice how it rises quickly at first and then flattens out? That flat part is a horizontal asymptote representing the maximum concentration possible. By reading the y-axis where the curve stabilizes, we find I2 max equals 32 millimoles per liter. But we want X max. Using our brilliant relation from the previous step, X equals I2 times Vs, we can calculate it. Just be careful with your units, scientists. Vs equals 100 centimeter cubed is the same as 0.1 liters. So X max equals 32 millimoles per liter times 0.1 liter, which gives us 3.2 millimoles. We've just translated a visual graph into a precise chemical quantity. Keep up this amazing momentum. Let's tackle question 4b. The problem tells us that iodide, I-, is the limiting reactant. In chemistry, limiting means it's the one that runs out first and stops the whole show. This means at the final state, the quantity of I- must be exactly 0. From our ICE table, the final amount is N0 minus 2X max. By setting this to 0, N0 minus 2x max equals 0, we find that our initial quantity, N0, must be twice the maximum progress. N0 equals 2 times 3.2 millimoles equals 6.4 millimoles. To be absolutely sure, let's do a self-check. If H2O2 were limiting, Xmax would be 6. Since our real Xmax is only 3.2, it proves I- definitely ran out first. Logic and math working together in perfect harmony. Now, let's talk about the half reaction time, T1 half, for questions 5-1 and 5-2. This is a super important concept in kinetics. By definition, T1 half is the time the reaction takes to get halfway to its final destination, when X reaches X max over 2. Because concentration is proportional to progress, this also means the concentration I2 will be half of its maximum value. So we calculate 32 over 2 equals 16 millimoles per liter. Now, look at the graph. Find 16 on the y-axis, draw a horizontal line to hit the curve, and then drop straight down to the x-axis. We land right around 125 seconds. This single number tells us how fast our reaction is overall. It's the heartbeat of the process. In question 5.3, we explore the volumetric rate of the reaction. Think of this like the speed of a car, but for chemicals. Mathematically, the rate V is the derivative of progress over time divided by volume. Since Vs is constant, this simplifies beautifully to V equals di2 over dt. Graphically, this derivative is just the slope of the tangent line to our curve at any specific time. Let's compare. At t equals 0, the curve is very steep, V equals 0.20, meaning the reaction is racing. At t equals 300 seconds, the slope is much flatter, V equals 0.036, so it's slowing down. Finally, at t equals 1200 seconds, the curve is totally flat, meaning the speed is 0. The reaction has crossed the finish line and stopped. Let's solve question 5-4. What is happening in our beaker when progress X equals 2.1 millimoles? First, let's find the when. We calculate the concentration. I2 equals 2.1 millimoles divided by 0.1 liters equals 21 millimoles per liter. Looking at our graph, 21 millimoles per liter happens exactly at t equals 200 seconds. Now for the what. We use our ice table formulas to find the remaining amounts. Diiodine produced is simply X equals 2.1 millimoles. For the reactants, we subtract. I minus remaining equals 6.4 minus 2 times 2.1 equals 2.2 millimoles. And H2O2 remaining equals 6 minus 2.1 equals 3.9 millimoles. It's like taking a snapshot of the mixture in the middle of its transformation. You can see how the reactants are disappearing while the product is appearing. Before we continue, dear friends, don't forget to subscribe, like, share the video with your friends, and also leave comments to encourage us to continue making this kind of content. For our final question, 5-5, we need to understand why the rate changes. As we saw from our tangent lines, the speed of the reaction drops over time until it hits 0. Why does this happen? Think of it this way. For a reaction to occur, molecules must collide with each other. At the start, the beaker is crowded with H2O2 and I- molecules, so collisions happen constantly and the rate is high. But as the reaction proceeds, these reactants are consumed. There are fewer and fewer molecules left, which means fewer effective collisions per second. Therefore, the kinetic factor responsible for the slowdown is the decrease in reactant concentration. It's like a party that starts loud and busy, but gets quieter as the guests leave. Congratulations on completing this masterclass! Let's synthesize what we've learned into 3 powerful pillars. First, ice table logic. This is your ultimate map. Knowing just one value unlocks the entire system. Second, graphical extractions. The graph is a goldmine. You can find the maximum from the asymptote, the half-life by dividing by 2, and the rate by calculating the slope. Third, core principles. Always remember that reactions slow down because reactants get used up, and they stop when the limiting reactant hits 0. Master these 3 pillars and you will be a champion of chemical kinetics. You've done incredible work today. Keep that passion for science burning bright.